Your personality is not who you are. It is what kept you alive. Every nuance you consider charming, every stubborn silence, every forced smile, every habitual jest, these are not expressions of self. They are the remnants of survival. They are the echoes of a time when the wrong reaction meant punishment, rejection, or worse. What you believe is you is a mask grown from necessity, layer upon layer, over the raw, unprotected architecture of your earliest mind. Think back to the first lie you ever told. Not a story of malice, not a deception meant to harm. A small, trembling lie born from pain. Perhaps you fell, your knee burned. You looked up to see a face, a parent, a guardian, someone who should have shielded you, etched with irritation, exhaustion, or fear. In that instant, your nervous system calculated. The raw signal of your pain collided with the implied threat in their expression, and you learned. You swallowed the scream. You offered a fragile smile and said, "I'm okay." The pain did not vanish. It shifted inward, stored in a deeper vault, laying the first brick of the mask you would come to wear without realizing it. Every future interaction would add bricks, panels, curtains, partitions, each one a pragmatic response to danger, to scarcity, to need, each one effective. Each one binding you closer to the architecture of survival. What you call your personality is nothing more than accumulated fortifications. It is a fossilized map of strategies honed for defense. The cheerful child learned that sadness was met with withdrawal. The angry child learned that vulnerability invited contempt. The quiet child learned that visibility was dangerous. The helpful child learned that love was conditional on utility. None of these were choices. They were adaptations, desperate and ingenious, carved into a nervous system that was still soft, still learning how to protect itself. They worked. They preserved life. They ensured connection, however fragile. And because they worked, they became ritual, became automatic, became identity. To challenge the mask is not to critique personality. It is to threaten the scaffolding that has kept you intact for decades. Imagine your mind as a room. The original room, open, soft, spacious, is barely visible. A loud sound in one corner prompts a scream to rise, to rise. A draft in another corner prompts a curtain. A shadow triggers a partition. Over years, these interventions accumulate, pragmatic, necessary, effective. You walk through the room now and see only the labyrinth of screens, curtains, and partitions. You call it your personality. You call it your personality. You mistake it for self. You have forgotten the open space that once existed, the original architecture, unencumbered by fear. This labyrinth whispers constantly. The mirrors inside the mask reflect your reactions and label them as traits. Wit, charm, stubbornness, empathy, concealing their true origin. Tactical moves in a silent game imposed on a child who did not understand the rules. You perceive others' personalities the same way. Sharp competence, effortless charm, placid calm. You admire them as traits, unaware that you are actually observing defensive architectures, fortresses built on momentum and fear. When two personalities interact, they do not meet. Their fortresses probe each other, test each other, measure the boundaries. A tacit agreement emerges. I will respect your defenses if you respect mine. It is not connection. It is preservation. The subtle menace of this system is its persistence. The parents who shaped it are gone. The bullies who enforced its lessons are long past. The scarcity has faded. Yet the mask remains, operating on old laws, on the gravity of a world that no longer exists. You enter a new space, a boardroom, a party, a relationship, and the old architecture engages automatically. You are not choosing to be the clown, the martyr, the hero. You are obeying the most ancient rules encoded in your nervous system. When in doubt, default to what kept you alive. What remains when the mask is removed? Not a personality, not a core self. Something fluid, unstable, potentiality itself. Every response is no longer predetermined. Every action is new, and therein lies terror. To stand in the open room again, exposed to every draft, every sound, every glance is freedom. But freedom is unfamiliar, frightening. The mask was built not for comfort, but for endurance, to make the unbearable world tolerable, to make you tolerable to yourself and others. Attempts at change feel like death. Feedback feels like attack. You are not asked to improve. You are asked to dismantle survival itself, while still believing you are safe. The you know is a fossil, a record of a world that no longer exists. The environment shaped the need created the strategy became identity, changed the environment, and the person disappears. What remains is neither loss nor gain. It is awareness, it is possibility, it is exposure. If this truth unsettled you, if it revealed the mask you thought was self, then it is doing its job. Support Audiobook Vision by subscribing. Like this video if the cold clarity resonates, and share it with someone who still believes personality is innate, without realizing it was survival all along.